the Mummified Undead command a massive army of undying skeletons and mummies. They are supported by great constructs made of bone and rock, animated by their gods. The Mummified Undead are the shambling corpses left behind when their once prosperous kingdoms collapsed. When the desert gods were driven from the underworld by the gods of havoc, their followers were barred from the afterlife. Since then, their souls have been shackled to their lifeless bodies. Only their new queen offers them the hope of final death.
Hey everybody, this is War Boss Fitz, and before we really get into this, I am recording this when we are at 984 subscribers. If you could hit the subscribe button and tap the like button, I'd really appreciate it. Now with that out of the way, let's get down into the Mummified Undead. Starting off with their special rules like usual, the big one here is undead, because they're skeletons. Whenever this unit fails a morale test, it counts as passed instead. Then roll as many dice as remaining models / tough with this rule, and for each result of 1 to 3, the unit takes 1 wound, which can't be ignored. So much like our Automa rule in the last video, these guys, whenever you're forced to take a morale test, you just roll the dice, and if you fail your morale test, roll 1 dice for every wound remaining, and some of your skeletons could crumple and fall to the ground. That's the downside. The upside is whatever you have left is still a viable unit that can activate and you're not going to be pinned. Now for the rest of the special rules that are not the command stuff, breath attack. Once per activation before attacking, roll 1 die on a 2+, 1 enemy unit within 6 and line of sight takes 1 hit with blast 3 and AP 1. So this is going to be on top of all your other hits. You just move to where you want to go, and then whatever you're fighting, you can blast them, or you can turn its head, blast something close by. So this gives the unit the potential to hurt more than 1 unit a turn. Cursed Ammo ignores cover and all negative modifiers to hit rolls and range. That means that I don't care if you're standing in the bushes, I'm still going to shoot you. And then Surprise Attack. This model counts as having ambush and may be deployed up to 1 inch away from enemy units. Once deployed, roll X dice for each 2+, 1 enemy unit within 3 takes 2 hits with AP 1. So this is going to be the surprise. Gotcha! I looked this up to see what it was for a very specific unit that we'll get to later, and I'm very surprised that that unit has Surprise Attack. Now for the command stuff, Ancient Wrath. This model and its unit get Furious. If they already had Furious, they get an extra hits on unmodified rolls of 5 or 6 instead. Now Furious means that if you roll a 6 to hit, it just automatically gets another hit. Poison Blades. This model and its unit gets poisoned in melee. It's always a plus. Private Guard. If this model is part of a unit of skeleton warriors, they count as having quality 3. That is a huge boost because skeleton warriors start off at a quality of 5. Anytime you have a unit of skeleton warriors, find some way to give it Private Guard because that just increases the output of that unit so much. Now for spells. Blade Curse. For 1, target 2 friendly units within 18 and they get poisoned next time they fight in melee. Storm of Skulls. Target enemy unit within 12 and it takes 2 hits with AP 2. Desiccation for 2. Target enemy unit within 9 takes 1 hit with AP 4 and Deadly 3. Protection 2. Target 2 friendly units within 12 to get +1 to defense rolls next time they take hits. Smiting 3. Target 2 friendly units within 18 to get +2 to hit rolls next time they charge. Vengeance 3. Target enemy units within 18 to take 1 hit with a blast of 9. Now these spells are huge. +1 to defense rolls is great, but then the +2 to hit rolls next time they charge is huge. It's just like Private Guard except it affects 2 friendly units within 18. So yeah, the spells are really good, and we're in a rare situation here where I got to play the battle report before I read the rules out, and there's some stuff that came up in the battle report that I just forgot about. Like how casters can cast spells on themselves. I'll explain that more when we get to the unit. So let's go ahead and start the units. We're going to start off with Mummies. You get 10 of them for 65 points, quality 5, defensive 6, 2 attacks apiece with claws, slow and undead. This unit is your cheap chaff unit to hold back and guard your artillery units. Or if you want to attach a character to them and give them Furious, which is what I did in the game, they're not too bad in close combat. They're not too bad as an assaulting force, but with slow, you definitely have to plan on what they're doing as the game goes along. Then we go to Skeleton Warriors, 10 of them for 65 points. Quality 5 and defensive 5. I'll stop right there and be like, imagine bumping these up to a quality 3 defensive 5. It's ridiculous the upgrade that gives them. They come standard with 10 hand weapons for 1 attack apiece, and they are undead. And you can replace all their hand weapons for halberds to give them rending or spears to give them counter. And you can upgrade the unit with a sergeant, musician, or a banner. And whenever you see those, the sergeant means that one model gets +1 to hit. The musician gives you +1 extra inch of movement. And the banner means you get +1 on your quality checks whenever you do morale checks. But for 65 points for 10 of them, expect to put on the field large squads of Skeleton Warriors just because they're so cheap. Like 20 of them for 130 points. Put a character in there to give them quality 3. This is how you get large phalanx blocks of quality troops. Our next unit up is the Royal Guard, 5 of them for 70 points. These are over double the cost of the Skeleton Warriors. Quality 3 and defensive 4. They come stock with heavy hand weapons, 1 attack apiece at AP 1, and they have the Undead rule. Now for their upgrades, for the weapons, you can give them heavy halberds, which gives them rending but continues on with the AP, or heavy great weapons, which changes them all to AP 3, 1 attack apiece. And you can get the sergeant, musician, and the banner upgrade for this unit as well. This unit's quality and defense paired with a good leader gives you a whole lot of versatility with this unit. They're not going to be as big as your squad of Skeleton Warriors. They come with innate AP on their weapons, so that's the big upgrade for the Royal Guard. It's just the AP they give you. Skeleton Archers, 5 of them for 65 points, quality 5, defensive 5. They come with cursed bows, 24 inches, 1 shot with cursed ammo. That means that it does not matter if you're in cover. They're going to hit you on a 5. And they all have hand weapons for 1 attack apiece with the Undead rule. Now the only upgrades they can take is a sergeant, musician, and banner. As far as, is this a good choice to take Skeleton Archers? I mean, if you look, I would not take Skeleton Archers. If your choice is between 5 Skeleton Archers or 10 Skeleton Warriors, I'd say take more Skeleton Warriors. But again, I'm a smooth brain orc. That's just what an orc would do. Next up is the Guardian Statues. Now we're starting to get to some big boys. 3 of them for 180 points. Quality 3, defensive 4. They come stock with heavy great weapons for 3 attacks apiece at AP 3, toughness 3, and undead. These are going to be your heavy shock troops for your Mummified Undead army. You can change out the heavy great weapons for dual heavy hand weapons where they get 4 attacks but only 1 AP. Or you can give them just a hand weapon for 2 attacks and they get a 24-inch 3-shot AP1 bow. Now these guys with cursed ammo, 3 shots apiece at quality 3, these are going to do a whole lot more damage than your Skeleton Archers will. You can give them Stone Shaper for Furious and Regeneration. If you're going with a bow, don't worry about this one. You're going to be far enough away that it's not going to matter. In Furious, you're not going to charge anybody, but heavy great weapons up on the front line with Furious and Regeneration, that's something to raise some eyebrows. And even though they are big guys, you can still get the Sergeant, Musician, and Banner upgrade on them. Skeleton Horsemen, 5 of them for 75 points, quality 5, defensive 5, hand weapons for 1 attack apiece, fast, impact 1, scout, and undead. Now scout means that before the game starts, you get to move up to 12 inches, ignoring terrain. You start the game at the midfield. You can replace the hand weapons for lances, and if you're going for close combat, I would definitely take the lance over just a hand weapon, especially for only 5 points. Or you can go the opposite direction and give them bows, but again, with only the quality 5, you're not going to be very effective with that. No, this unit just doesn't give me the fizz. Even though I love horsemen, I love cavalry, I love big units of cavalry, this one just doesn't do it for me. You can also give them the Sergeant, Musician, and Banner. Beast Riders. Now we're getting a little bit better. These look like Royal Guardsmen sitting on top of undead saber-tooths. 5 of them in a squad for 105 points, quality 4, defensive 4. They get 5 heavy claw attacks, 1 attack each with AP 2. Then 5 heavy hand weapons, 1 attack apiece at AP 1. Fast and undead. And you can change out the heavy hand weapon for the heavy lance, which gives you 1 attack at AP1, but when you charge with a lance rule, that turns into AP3. And then you get a sergeant, musician, and banner. Now, these guys are a very heavy-hitting cavalry squad, but they only have 1 wound apiece, as opposed to the other heavy cavalry we've seen. There's heavier cavalry in this army that we'll get to. But as far as like a fast shock troop force, Beast Riders with lances would be the way to go. Now we get to even heavier stuff. The Great Snakes, 3 of them for 135 points, quality 4, defensive 4, 1 attack apiece with poison fangs, fast, impact 2, toughness 3, and undead. Now for some reason the sergeant, musician, and banner upgrade is at the top. Okay, I don't know why it's formatted that way, but you can give all of the model skeleton spear riders that come with 1 attack with a lance. I would definitely suggest doing this. You can upgrade them all with either armored for +1 defense or burrower, which gives them ambush. Now ambush is real nice on these guys. What I went for in the game was armored to give them +1 defense, making them a 4-3. And it worked out pretty nice, using them as a heavy cavalry charge up one flank. It worked real nice. Our next unit is Snake Men, 3 of them for 190 points. They all have halberds, which gives them 2 attack apiece with rending, fast, impact 2, toughness 3, and undead. This is pretty much like the snakes we had before, just a little bit better. You can upgrade the halberds with a great weapon, which gives them AP2. You can upgrade them with the ambush rule. You can give them Death Gaze, which will give you 2 shots at 12 inches for AP1. Now these are a little bit out of the normal aesthetic for the Mummified Undead, which is probably why I didn't run them, but as far as your cavalry options go, these guys are going to be on par with the Great Snakes with the Lance. That one's all whatever flavor you want to put in there. Hunting Beasts, because everyone likes little packs of wolves running around. 5 of them for 80 points, quality 4, defensive 5, 2 attacks apiece. Fast, Strider, and Undead, so they're going to move through any terrain that's on the board and not care about it. They have no upgrades. This will just be a missile-type unit to throw at your enemy and say, deal with this. Scarab Swarms, 3 of them for 45 points, quality 6, defensive 6. They have 3 attacks apiece with poison, ambush, Strider, toughness 3, and Undead, with no upgrades of any type. Now, you guys know how I feel about swarms. I think swarms are going to be kind of useless, but I have been proven wrong in the past. I went to a game store and played a game against other OPR people that I don't normally play against, and he was playing the Robot Legions, and I was playing my Plague Demons, and he had a group of 3 of his Scarab Swarms hold down 20 Plague Warriors for 3 turns, just because I wasn't able to eat through all 9 of those wounds. I think with the robot rule for Grimdark Future and the undead rule with Age of Fantasy, I think that these are viable as a blocking force. The enemy has to take out all 9 of the wounds on these swarms to be able to move past them. And for 45 points, that's definitely worth it. Vultures, 3 of them for 120 points, quality 4, defensive 5, 3 sharp beaks for 3 attacks apiece with rending, flying, toughness 3, and undead. Not much more to say about that. You want some flying stuff to ignore all the terrain and attack people from the skies? Go ahead and grab some vultures. Now we're moving into the larger stuff. Starting off with the Great Scorpion. 120 points, quality 4, defensive 3, 3 attacks with a pincer at AP2, and 3 attacks with poison from their stinger. Ambush, fear 1, toughness 6, and undead. As far as a large ambush unit, this one is going to be great. Pop it up behind the ranged units or all their squishy stuff in the backfield and charge it in. And just having this unit in your army will force them to keep something behind to deal with it. Plus, the model looks really cool. Next up is the Skeleton Giant, 225 points, quality 4, defensive 3, heavy hand weapon for 8 attacks at AP1, and stomp for 4 attacks at AP1. Fear 2, toughness 12, and undead. You can swap out his heavy hand weapon for dual hand weapons for 10 attacks, but you lose the AP, or a great weapon for 6 attacks at AP2. And you can also switch it out for a giant bow, 24 inches, 1 shot, AP2, cursed ammo, deadly 6. Now, this is the unit I should have taken over what I did take. But for this guy, what I would do, me personally, I would swap out the heavy hand weapon for the great weapon, because nothing feels worse than having a giant unit with a bunch of attacks go into combat and it doesn't do a thing to the enemy because they're able to pass all their armor saves. So if you're going to take this guy, swap out to the great weapon to knock down the enemy's chance of living. The War Sphinx, 270 points, quality 4 and defensive 2. Comes with a crew attack for 8 attacks with rending, and a stomp for 4 attacks at AP 1, fear 2, toughness 12, and undead. You can replace the stomp with a toxic stinger for 4 attacks with poison. You can give this thing the breath attack, so it's breathing fire, and stone shaper to give it furious and regeneration. Now for this, I would suggest always taking the stone shaper because you don't want your big boys going down to chip damage. I wouldn't worry about the toxic stinger unless you need 5 more points. Other than that, it's a really cool war beast. I can see that being a really cool paint job. The Giant God Statue, 315 points, quality 3, defensive 3, great weapon, 6 attacks at AP 2, stomp for 4 attacks at AP 1, fear 2, tough 12, undead, caster 3. Now this is the unit that I did take. And I'm not saying it was a bad choice. I was just a bad player with it. You're going to see in the battle report what he actually does. He stands up to shooting by the entire Duchy's army for a whole turn. Would have been longer if I had remembered that he can cast spells on himself as well. I would have cast protection on him. So, for the future, if you're running a Giant God Statue and no one's in range to shoot them with a spell, go ahead and give yourself protection. So we go to our Sphinx champion next. 300 points flat. Quality 3, defensive 2, stomp for 4 attacks at AP 1, dual hand weapons for 10 attacks, fear 2, toughness 12, and undead. Now this guy's got all different kinds of options, and he looks really, really cool. When I expand this army out, I'm going to make more Sphinxes, there's going to be scorpions. I might just do a kaiju style list. Oh, that's an idea for a different army. Okay, moving on. Maybe possibly in the future, there'll be a kaiju army. So you can replace the stomp with a stinger. Again, don't worry about this. Keep the AP 1. Don't worry about the poison. You can give him a breath attack as well as stone shaper, which gives him furious regeneration. I would definitely take the stone shaper because this guy's going to be all up in the slop. Replace the dual hand weapon for a great weapon. I would say definitely, because this guy doesn't have any AP unless you give him that great weapon. So definitely do it. It's only 5 points. 4 less attacks, but AP 2. It'll be more quality attacks. Then you can replace the stomp with a decapitating strike. 1 attack, AP 2 for deadly 6. If you know your enemy's running big guys, I would go for this. And you can also give him wings so he ignores all the terrain. This would make a wonderful centerpiece to your army. Skeleton Chariot for 100 points flat, quality 5, defensive 3. Spear Crewman with 2 attacks with lance and 2 attacks with hooves. Fast, impact 4, toughness 6, and undead. And the option is you can replace the spear crew with a cursed bow crew, where you get 6 attacks at 24 inches with cursed ammo. Now, with 6 attacks, it might be worth it to have a fast chariot running around the enemy's flanks, blasting them with arrows. Or you could do what an orc like me would like to do, is just keep it basic and slam it right into the enemy, because that's what your lances and your impacts are going to do. Well, more impact. But again, really cool, really themey. Egyptian chariots, looking good. Now we go into the War Machine section. We have the Death Casket for 105 points, quality 3, defensive 5, 3 attacks in close combat, and it has a ranged attack called Release Spirit for 24 inches, 2 attacks, blast 3 with rending. It is entrenched, slow, toughness 3, and undead. Now entrenched, what that means is that if you don't move the turn previously, the enemy are at -2 to hit you, which is really nice if you're leaving your stuff in the back like I did in the last game, and the enemy moves forward to get in range, and you look at them and be like, well, guess what? You can only hit me on a 6. Your option is to replace the Release Spirit with Unleash Soul for 24, 2 attacks, AP 2, and Deadly 3. This is just depending on what you want to go for. If you want to kill your enemy's squishier troops, keep the Release Spirit. If you want to fight their bigger stuff, Unleash Soul is the way to go, just because of the AP and the Deadly 3. Either way, it's quality 3. You're going to be getting some hits with this. Then the Skull Catapults, quality 5, defensive 5 for 140 points, 3 attacks with the crew. They have a Skull Barrage, 36-inch range, 6 attacks, AP 1, Cursed Ammo, and Indirect. They have Entrenched. They are mobile, so they're always going to have Entrenched. Toughness 3 and Undead. It has no upgrades. It does what it says on the tin. It sits in the back and it slings skulls at people. Now, in the game we have coming up, I ran 2 of these, and they had questionable results. I'm sure that's not because of the unit. I'm sure that is entirely on my ability to roll crap dice. Last of the big boy units is the Desert Titan for 820 points, quality 2, defensive 2, 12 attacks at AP 1, 8 stomps at AP 2, fear 4, toughness 24, and undead. And this is the one where I saw that he could take a buried skeleton for a surprise attack of 6 for 225 points. But just the thought of this thing popping out of the ground and yelling surprise at you, because he has the ability to do a whole lot of damage when he pops up. You could also give him flying and caster 4. Now again, I don't really cover Titans all that much in depth, because if you're at the point where you're printing and playing with Titans, you know what you're doing more than I do. Next, we're going to the characters. We have the Royal Champion, 50 points, quality 3, defensive 4, heavy hand weapon, 3 attacks at AP 1, hero, toughness 3, and undead. Now this is where you can get all the fun stuff to upgrade your squads. Poison Blades, Ancient Wrath, Private Guard, Caster 2, and Caster 3. You can replace his weapons for a Halberd, Dual Weapons, Lance, Great Weapon, Heavy Spear. And you can also upgrade him with either a Royal Beast, Skeletal Steed, Royal Snake, Royal Chariot, or a War Sphinx. This guy's versatile. He can get into any squad you want him to, but he has no way to get the ambush rule. So if you got an ambush squad popping up, this guy can't go with him, unfortunately. That's about the only downside to this guy. Other than that, put him wherever you want. He'll make everybody better. And then our second and last character is the Skeleton Leader for 25 points. Quality 5, defensive 5, hand weapon for 3 attacks, hero, toughness 3, and undead. He also has the upgrades for Poison Blades, Ancient Wrath, Fear of 3 if he's the Army Standard Bearer, Caster 2 and Caster 3. Switch out his hand weapon for dual weapons, great weapons, halberd, lance, and spear, and he can also be put on a skeletal steed. Now, some combos for these characters. For this guy, Ancient Wrath, where you can put this guy in a unit of mummies for 35 points to give him all furious. That's a fun combination. You can always just make him a caster to bop around wherever you want him to be. Venom Experts with Poison Blades, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it's only a 5-point upgrade, so if you throw him in a squad and you have 5 extra points to blow, just give him poison, why not? But the big one, which I've said before, is the Royal Champion with the Private Guard. It's going to be 90 points, but if you put him in a unit of Skeleton Warriors for 90 extra points, they become greater than the sum of their parts. So I would suggest at least one Royal Champion with Private Guard in a squad of 20 Skeleton Warriors. So that's it for the units. Let's go ahead and move on to the Army Showcase and then the Battle Report. All right, everybody, it's Battle Report time. The snow is coming down outside, so that's why we're going to be playing here with the guys from the desert. We can be warm in our imaginations. So this is the Mummified Undead. Quick little army shot for you guys, and now let's go to the spinny thing. First unit on the list today are 10 mummies. They have a leader with them with Ancient Wrath, which gives the squad Furious. Our next unit is going to be 20 warriors, joined by a Royal Champion with the Private Guard skill, making all of our Skeleton Warriors quality 3. Now these guys are from the painting video I did a few days ago. As you can see, we've touched up the white, and that's about it. Next, we have our leader attached to a unit of Royal Guard. Leader has a great weapon, and he also has Ancient Wrath to give all of the skeletons furious. The next unit is 3 Guardian statues, all armed with heavy great weapons. We have a unit of 3 Great Snakes, all upgraded to have the riders on the back, with the extra armor to give them defense of 3. We have the God statue. He has no upgrade, so he's just coming as base. And remember how I said this is a Bronze Age army? Well, they had access to Mercury too, so I'm going to say this guy has Mercury skin wrapped in gold and bronze armor. Finally, rounding everything out, we have 2 skull catapults, ready to launch their screaming skulls across the board. The opposing force again today is going to be the Duchies. We've had a few stray cats get into the garage this week, so there are a few lances broken. As you can tell, the leader on the mechanical chicken no longer has his lance, but after his performance last week, he has been dubbed Sir Simp the Maidenless. In today's scenario, we are deploying in the spearhead deployment. We rolled up 5 objectives on the board. We're going to see if the mummified undead that just rose from their tombs is going to be able to knock the Duchies off of their winning streak. The forces are deployed. The Duchies seem to be having a wide offense, and the mummified undead have completely abandoned their right flank to go around the mountain on the front side. We're playing with progressive objectives again. Uncle C is here today to play as the Duchies. We're going to roll dice to see who goes first. The mummified dead get the first turn. The god statue moves forward and plants his feet on the center objective. Unit of City Guard moves up on the hill and fires at the god statue, causing 3 wounds. The Great Snake unit moves forward at full speed, snagging the objective on their left flank. The Duchy's heavy cavalry do the same thing on their left flank, moving forward to take the objective. The Guardian statues move forward to put their heavily armored bodies on the front line. The second unit City Guard move forward, and they also fire at the God statue, knocking out 3 wounds, taking him down to 6. The unit of Muppets. The unit of mummies shuffle forward. The brutes move forward and fire off their crossbows into the god statue, only causing 1 wound. The Pharaoh and his royal guard move as fast as they can to pull up behind the guardians. The Automa guard move forward and level their crossbows at the giant snake. After the bolts hit, they're able to score 2 wounds. The large unit of 20 skeleton warriors moves up behind their god effigy. The unit of Automa drones moves across the back edge of the board to end up behind the brutes. The first mummified undead catapult flings its flaming skulls at the city guard on the hill and are able to take out 2 of them. Sir Simp the Maidenless sees a way to prove his glory, charges forward to attack God. As he slams into combat, Between his lance and his chicken, he's able to bring God down to 1 wound remaining. The God statue attacks back, only doing 1 wound to Sir Simp the Maidenless, but the God statue passes its morale test, and Sir Simp realizes he might have screwed up. For the final unit of turn 1, the second Mummified catapult fires into the same unit as City Guard, and is only able to kill 1. First activation of turn 2, the brutes move forward and they fire their crossbows at the God statue. They're able to take the final wound off of the statue, making it crumble to dust on that center objective. As a moral victory, though, it did take the fire of the entire Duchy's army for a whole turn, leaving the rest of the army mostly unmolested. The unit of mummies charge into Sir Simp the Maidenless. Their mummy claws scratching at his mechanical chicken. They're able to do 2 wounds. Sir Simp attacks back and is able to take out 1 mummy. With his fear of 1, combat is tied. The unit of City Guard on the hill level their crossbows and fire at the Guardian statues, causing many, many wounds, but the regeneration of the statues mean they only lose 2. The giant snakes, because they are in range of the crossbows, they're in range to charge back. Charge into the Automa Guard. Their initial charge kills off 5 immediately. The Guard fight back and don't cause any wounds. The Automa Guard then fail their morale test, and 2 more go down to the Automa Rule, falling into a heap of gears and springs. The unit of Automa drones move forward and fire into the mummies that are surrounding Sir Simp. With the rapid firing crossbows, they're able to take out 6 of the mummies, but the mummies pass their morale test. The unit of 20 skeleton warriors charge forward into the brutes. With their massive numbers of attacks, they're able to cause 3 wounds, taking 1 of the brutes down. The 2 remaining brutes then attack back, causing 3 wounds to the skeletons. Combat is tied. The City Guard camping on the home objective fire into the unit of 20 warriors and are able to take out 6 of them with their crossbows. The Guardian statues charge into the center objective, attacking Sir Simp. They're able to knock him down to 1 wound remaining. Sir Simp attacks back and is able to pull 2 wounds off of the Guardian squad, making 1 statue crumble into dust. Then Sir Simp fails his morale test and bravely runs off the field.
Run away! Run away!
The Duchy's heavy cavalry see their opportunity and slam into the side of the warrior squad fighting against the brutes. They do 9 damage on their initial charge in. The warriors fight back, doing nothing more than scratching the paint, and 2 more crumble on a failed morale test. The Pharaoh and the Royal Guard move forward while keeping 1 skeleton close enough to keep a toe on the objective. Last activation for the Duchies on turn number 2. The Automa Guard back up and fire into the snakes, causing 1 hit, but the snakes' armor holds. Both of the catapults fire off because they're all that's left on the board that needs to activate into that same squad of City Guard they've been picking on. They're able to kill off 4 of the City Guard, who then fail their morale test, becoming pinned. The initial move on turn number 3, the heavy cav slam into the Guardian statues. They're able to kill 1 Guardian and knock the last remaining one down to 1 wound. The Guardian attacks back, doing 1 wound to the heavy cavalry. He then fails his morale test, but he does not crumble. Pharaoh and his Royal Guard charge into the City Guard. They're on the central objective. They smash into them, killing 9 with their attack back. They're not able to do any wounds to the Royal Guard, but definitely not taking the example of Sir Simp. The leader and his lone City Guardsmen pass their morale test. The Automa drones trying to assist the squad of City Guard fire into the Royal Guard, and they're able to kill 4 of them. The mummies come off the center objective and charge into the squad of brutes. They're unable to score any hits and do any damage. The brutes attack back, killing 2 of the mummies, but the lone mummy somehow passes his morale test. The brutes move to the center objective and level their crossbows at the catapults in the back. Due to the entrenched rule, they're going to need a 6 to hit the catapults and don't score a single one. The skeleton warriors move on to the objective on the right flank. The leader and the city guard that were being attacked by the royal guard slip out and fire at the two skeleton warriors that made their way to the objective. 3 shots, unable to hit with any of them. The giant snakes charge back into the Ottoman guard, smashing the 3 of them into little bits. The city guard on the hill, unpinned. Both the catapults fire again into the same unit of city guard on the hill. This time only able to kill 1. First activation of turn 4, the Ottoman drones move back and fire at the giant snakes, causing 2 wounds, knocking one of them into the dirt and wounding another. The Royal Guard charge into the back of the heavy cavalry. They're able to do 2 wounds, taking one of the cavalry out of the game and wounding another. When the cavalry attacks back, they're able to take out 1 Royal Guard, and the heavy cavalry pass their morale test. The Ottoman brutes charge into the Royal Guard. They're able to take out 3 of them. The Royal Guard fight back, and because of the regeneration, they're unable to do any wounds to the brutes. Then the Royal Guard pass their morale test. The Guardian statue charges into the back of the heavy cavalry. We're just having a big scrum in the middle. Does 1 wound to the heavy cav. The heavy cav are unable to hit back, but they pass their morale test. The 2 city guard march towards the objective that has the 2 skeleton warriors in them, firing off their crossbows, killing 1 warrior, and the leader that's left over passes his morale test. The leader, who was part of the skeleton warrior squad, charges into the city guard. He's able to score 2 hits, taking out the last city guardsman in the squad and putting a wound on the leader. The leader attacks back, doing nothing, but then has an outburst of bravery and passes his morale test. The city guard on the hill fire at the back of the Royal Guard, and they're able to take out 2, but the Pharaoh refuses to fail a morale test. The last remaining mummy stumbles onto the objective into the enemy's deployment zone. The 2 catapults group their fire and again fire at the city guard on the hill, and finally, on the last shot of the game, they decide to hit, causing 7 total wounds. Good job, catapults. So at the end of turn 4, final score of the progressive objectives is going to be Mummified Undead 10, the Duchies of Vinci 3. The boys with the dusty cheeks have broken the winning streak of the duchies. So that's it for today in the garage, everybody. It is a balmy 28 degrees out here. We stopped being able to feel our fingers somewhere in round 2. We have the voting up on the community page. Who do you want to see fight next week? Remember to like and subscribe. Share this video with your friends. Anyone who wants to get into OPR. That's why I make these videos for everybody. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you like what we're doing here. And until next week, we'll see you next time.